In this episode, we almost murder somebody over a mitten. I have to restart that because my voice cracked so hard.
I was gonna say, let's keep it.
So hard. As long as somebody. I couldn't even, stop the word. It just kept going.
It sounds like the beginning of a Queen song.
We almost murder somebody over a mitten. I guess we're getting a Heavy Rain movie in 2038. And why'd she stop running? Thank you for coming back from our replay reviews. My name is Leah.
And my name is Kathy.
We are two friends who are here to replay, review, and analyze your favorite video games. And since Kathy has never seen the games before, it helps me view them through her fresh eyes, almost like I'm discovering them again for the first time.
We hope it'll be a similar experience for you.
November 9th, 4:13 p.m. This is about 4 hours after Marcus's demonstration that we saw in the last episode. Connor locates Amanda in the garden. It's cold. We've seen the weather change multiple times. I'm curious if that has anything to do with the decisions that we make. Like, in this instance, he very tentatively steps on the frozen pond, and we see him multiple times, looking down at his feet. Is he literally on thin ice with Amanda right now? Is this what we're seeing?
That's a really good analogy.
Because he looks cautious when he first steps on it. So Amanda gets right to it. She says that the country is on the verge of a civil war, and about the deviants, humans have no choice but to destroy them. Amanda is disappointed in Connor for not getting information out of Kamsky. So he must have designed Amanda, right? Kamsky must have designed Amanda.
So I'm just confused on Amanda's character. Like, how does she know all this information, whether she's an android or a human?
I don't think she's android or a human. In that picture, we learn she's dead, right? I think she's just the processing system.
Okay, which would make sense.
That's the impression that I get. But Connor seems mad that I feel like he thinks she lied to him. Are you getting the sense that there's lots of tension between these two right now?
Definitely. He used to lean into her more than Hank, but now the roles have reversed that he trusts Hank more than Amanda.
Continuing in this tension, Connor says, "I'm not a unique model, am I?"
I think it's at this point where he realizes that he's about to be replaced. He knows that Amanda knows he didn't shoot the girl at Kamsky's, and he knows he's on the verge of becoming a deviant. He's finally starting to be worried enough that he needs to change the way he's approaching things.
But this just is the most heated exchange we've seen between them so far. Amanda asks Connor if he's experienced anything unusual recently.
Any doubts or conflicts? Do you feel anything for these deviants? Or for Lieutenant Anderson?
I'm beginning to have thoughts that are not part of my program. Maybe I've been compromised too.
And this leads to a big drop in relationship. He's no longer trusted by Amanda, they're now neutral.
I feel like it needed to happen to progress the game, though. And
Yeah.
I'm surprised it took so long for Connor's relationship with Amanda to go south.
I didn't feel like lying to her was the right move because she seems to already know something's up. Otherwise, she wouldn't even be asking this question.
Again, if Amanda is like a processing system, there is no way to win her.
I think it was in the last episode when Hank asks, "How do I know you're not a deviant?" And Connor says, "I self-test regularly." Do you think Amanda is this self-testing that he's referencing?
I don't think it's Amanda being the self-testing, but it's the programming that Amanda probably is part of.
I think Amanda's objective is kind of the unknown, because that would go into why is she asking him questions about his current state. So Connor rejoins the real world to see Hank being unassigned to the deviancy case as the FBI is now taking over. And the way he looks at Hank is just perfect, but Hank is not happy. And I wrote in my notes, the many faces of Hank. This is his face throughout this scene. is
it's
pristine.
really good.
It is. Also, I really like that Hank is saying we, because that just means that Connor is, like, actually his partner now. He's wormed his way into Hank. At the end of the interaction, the captain has decided they're off the case and Connor's gonna have to go back to cyberlife. Hank walks away and Connor follows him to his desk where he insists that they can solve the case. He says that he'll be sent back to cyberlife and deactivated to find out why he failed.
So in this point where Hank is having a conversation with Connor, just talking about how they have to continue with this case, I love how Hank goes, what if we're on the wrong side? I love the vulnerability that he's showing. He's considering, what if everything he's been fighting for is wrong? This moment solidifies his character arc and the growth, his acceptance of Connor being an android and being his partner when he was so reluctant to have him in the earlier parts. I just love this moment.
I do too, and I find Connor's response to be equally as fascinating, because we know he's closer to deviancy than he ever has been, but he still says, when the deviants rise up, there will be chaos, and we could have stopped it. Connor has a point, and this is a big issue I have with this game, is the lack of flexibility on the view of deviance. I think it's too two-sided.
It is. I think we need to clarify which side is Connor falling on? Is he partially just worried about Cyberlife then taking him because he failed his mission? Is he freaking out because harm can come to Hank and humans? Or just he doesn't agree that androids should be deviants? Like, I'm not exactly sure what side and what Connor is trying to fight for. Like, we know he has a mission, but I don't think he's not prioritizing that mission anymore. So I don't know what he's fighting for.
Yeah, this is one of my notes, is why is he so set on solving this still? And my question is, to fulfill his mission or to save himself? Maybe it's both. Because he does say, if I don't solve this case, Cyberlife will destroy me. So I think it's both. I think it's so ingrained in his system to solve the case, but he also has enough software instability at this point to not want to be destroyed. But they are interrupted when they spot Perkins arriving, and Connor's upset. He knows that if the FBI takes their evidence, they'll never solve the case. He thinks he can find the answer, but Hank has to buy him some time. Hank agrees and picks a fight with Perkins, which is great. And while Connor is making his way to the evidence room, Gavin sees him, and the choice to just ignore him and keep going is perhaps the single most satisfying thing in this entire game.
I love how Gavin is like a bug that you just want to squish beneath your shoes.
He's just always there.
I'm glad. I don't think I chose him as my KS because he is so annoying.
In the evidence room, Connor reactivates and tricks the blue-haired Tracy in order to obtain the location of Jericho. Him doing this is like, it's peak detective Connor. It's ruthless, but I love that it's ruthless.
It's also him being very desperate to figure things out before he runs out of time. He's kind of at fault right now from what Amanda is saying, that you didn't shoot her when you should have shot her. You should have been more ruthless.
So right after he discovers this, Gavin arrives, pointing a gun at Connor. And then after a fight, Connor is able to get away, but not long after Perkins arrives to find Gavin passed out on the floor. And they sound the alarm, but Connor's already on his way out. But I love how Perkins walks straight past Gavin on the floor and just goes, looks like somebody's been going through the evidence.
He probably is annoyed by Gavin, too.
November 9th, 9:34 p.m. In the car, we learn on the news that all androids are being turned over to the authorities, and many industries are being affected, including the military. So I don't know if that's part of, like, the whole Arctic sub-story we keep hearing about. Maybe now we're going to lose World War III. Soon, Rose pulls over and instructs them the rest of the way to Jericho, and she tells them to find Marcus. He'll help them get on the bus. We quickly cut back to Connor, who is following the same path to Jericho that Marcus did earlier. And he's in street clothes now. And I don't like it.
I actually like it. I really like him in this outfit so much more than before.
I hate the beanie, specifically.
I like that.
I hate it.
If you told me, like, KS between this one or him in his, like, Android version, I would have chose him
Nonsense.
as a Kentucky Skirt. No, he's so much better
Nonsense.
in a beanie. We need a poll. We need a poll.
Back to Kara. They make it to Jericho, which has vastly improved its resources since we last saw it. And then Kara just does not want to talk to Luther about Alice. He tries again to talk to her, and she blows him off again.
It's so annoying because we know Kara really cares for Alice, yet any information pertaining to her, she's ignoring it, so it makes no sense.
I just feel so bad for Luther. He's trying so hard.
Luther's such a great person.
Quickly back to Connor again. He's arrived at Jericho and is trying to locate Marcus. And then at some point as he's exploring, Lucy catches him and says, "You're lost. You're looking for something. You're looking for yourself." And then she just walks away and leaves him with that.
It's so generic, though. It can apply to anyone.
I feel like she could have been cool, and they just blew it with her. Now back to Kara. She's able to find Marcus and asks for help getting passports. Marcus suggests that they stay at Jericho as it's dangerous outside, but he's still assigning someone to make them passports. At the start of their interaction, Kara says that she's here with a little girl and another android. And Marcus says, "You know humans hate us. Basically, why are you helping her?" I don't understand his viewpoint towards the humans.
We understand how much he wants to advocate for deviants to have their own life, but we never really saw his hatred. Maybe for Leo, but he spent so much time with Carl and he sees like the goodness in people. And yeah, maybe seeing all the news report of just like human, like, and it's mostly the army who's shooting deviants and androids. But like, where's this hate coming from? Like, there's no reason for Marcus to take so much offense to humans at this point, especially when it's a little girl.
And it especially just doesn't track with the pacifist playthrough with him. We've chosen all of the non-violent options and the dialogue options. Why would he want to have a dialogue if he knows that they hate them? It just doesn't make sense with his strategy. This line just doesn't make sense. After this interaction, Kara makes her way back to Alice, but along the way she spots an identical child who turns out to be an android. Luther approaches her and says,
"You knew from the beginning. You just didn't want to see it. She wanted a mom, and you wanted someone to care for."
So we see that Kara at one point saw the pamphlet for Alice's android model in Todd's house. Why the twist?
Okay, I was about to say that. What is the purpose of making Alice an android? It doesn't change the fact that Kara as an android has feelings, and that's what pushes her to be a deviant. Because Alice's character arc is so shallow as well, there is no need to make her a deviant or a human. It's just so unnecessary. And also, then why does Alice exist? Like, I don't think Todd, or obviously Todd's wife, never wanted Alice. Otherwise, she would have taken Alice with her when she left, right? Maybe I'm shallow. Or I'm slow at this. I don't understand why this is even relevant or important.
So, addressing one of the things you mentioned, in the scene where we're looking in Alice's like keepsake box, there's a picture of the family, and I'm like almost certain that it's not Alice in that picture. It's a like real life little girl.
Oh.
I think what happened is they probably lost their daughter, and Alice is the like replacement. You know what I mean?
Oh, that would make sense.
Just real quickly, what Luther finishes it out. He's saying, "Forgetting who you are to become what someone needs you to be. Maybe that's what it means to be alive." And I get it, but at the same time, if we look at these two androids, right? Alice is designed to be a child, someone that needs to be mothered, as Luther says, and Kara's designed to be a caretaker. And this is where I again question, are they really free? Or is their bond just part of their programs?
What if her need to protect Kara and go up against Todd was part of her programming? Maybe she was always programmed to prioritize that. So then, yes, I feel like they have no free will.
Mm-hmm. It does the exact opposite of what I think it wants to do. It wants us to be like, oh, no. But she still loves her, like she's still choosing to love her. But was it ever even a choice? And maybe that is the question that Kara's now having to deal with is, was it ever even a choice that I love her? I think the more intriguing question is Alice deviant? Because if she's not, then is her love truly real for Kara?
No, because she seems pretty whiny and angry.
Don't steal the coat, Kara. It's not ours.
You want me to knock them down? Those cans?
Knock them down? I know you all wanted to hear me say it again.
Yeah, I do.
Well, I think we'll probably come back to this topic. Should we move on to scene
Yeah.
3 for now?
Mm-hmm.
So, moving on, Marcus and the inner circle are having a difficult conversation dealing with the fallout of their actions. And this again, I wrote in all caps. Why is his baseline anger? I don't get it. I don't know how many times I'm going to say that. Too many. But by the end of the conversation, Marcus decides he needs to go talk to the humans on his own in a final effort to protect his people.
Well, Marcus's mood swing is really throwing me off. If the game was designed for Marcus to choose anger, you should have never given us the option to choose such a calm, pacifist approach to it, only when our cutscenes are going to go back to him being angry. And that just doesn't make a consistent storyline or personality for the character. I just feel like it's sloppy writing if you were going to push us to go for violence this entire time and make all the cutscenes about anger being his baseline.
Well, and I think it's extra confusing because his demeanor seems sad, if anything. Like, he seems dejected, but everything he says is, like, geared towards anger. So I think it just doesn't math out.
Because if you know humans hate you, why are you choosing peaceful protests? Like, if that's what you're saying, then don't give us option to do a peaceful protest.
Right. Or choosing peaceful should mean that those lines no longer exist for this character. But, North stays behind.
But, okay, what's up with her outfit changes? Like, how many outfits does this woman need?
I don't know. Too many. So she stays behind to talk to Marcus. She has access to a dirty bomb and wants Marcus to use it, but he refuses. I have in my note, but I already know the answer because of your reaction. I said, is Kathy okay with the kiss this time?
No. I wish you recorded my reaction. I was so mad at you.
I just need to stop anticipating what you're gonna want and just do what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, I'm. It was so annoying. I wish Marcus rejected her because I feel like that's more fitting with the storyline and his character.
Yeah.
0 for 2 for David Cage.
This is at least better. At least we're not naked on a dingy motel room floor while our son slowly dies.
Exactly.
So as North leaves, we see Connor snooping in the background, and he's quickly transported back to Amanda. She congratulates him and asks him to bring Marcus in alive. My feelings about this game have changed significantly since my very first playthrough. And in this scene, specifically, I liked it a lot the first time, but I now feel like it does just a tremendous disservice to Connor's character. On one hand, I like that Marcus convinces him to be deviant rather than the touch conversion.
Or it's telepathic powers now.
Right. And again, why is he not using that on Connor? Like, it would be so easy. But on the other hand, I really think Hank should be the one that convinces him ultimately to become deviant, because that relationship is really what pushes Connor to continue to choose deviant thoughts and actions. So I feel kind of robbed in that relationship as a player.
That's actually a really good point.
Yeah. Because who is Marcus to tell Connor who he is? I don't like the the feeling that Marcus has as like sort of this god almost, about like you don't know who you are and you need to choose a side and all this. Like it makes me dislike Marcus a little bit in this scene.
Okay. I'm glad you said that because that's when I kind of. It's not like I don't like Marcus. I just think it was very out of character for Marcus. I think he would be like, okay, just take me in then, just shoot me kind of situation. I don't think Marcus had that kind of sway on Connor to get him to be a deviant. But I know you want to say something.
Oh, I was just gonna, what you just said. Marcus's plan as of now is to go by himself to go talk to the humans. Connor wants to take him in alive. What's the problem? What's the problem?
That is true.
There's no disconnect here.
They want the same things.
Yeah. But, okay, so by the end of the conversation, Connor has become a deviant and joins Jericho. And I like Connor being deviant, but I wanted him to pick it himself. And I really hate that it feels like Marcus had to convince him to become deviant, because I think at this point in the game, Connor already knows that he's well on his way to being deviant, and I just don't think that Marcus would be the thing
Yeah.
that would push him.
A better writing situation would either be he sees just something to push him outside of the code, because that's what Marcus did, that's what Kara did to break the fourth wall kind of situation. So why is Connor not experiencing that?
And I think you're hitting right on the head my issue with the decision earlier in the game of save Hank or go after the deviant. That's the kind of situation where Connor would become deviant to save Hank. That choice should be later in the game after our relationship has improved with Hank, and then we have the option to abandon the mission to save Hank, which that would equal deviancy.
Yes, I know. Now I understand what you meant when you said you didn't like their relationship growing so quickly at that time. And it makes sense that they should have moved that scene here because they already had a good groundwork for their relationship. This is the right place for it. Oh man, David Cage should have consulted you and I.
Honestly, I think that about a lot of things. But Connor does warn them that the humans are about to attack Jericho, and we also see that Amanda is now betrayed. And I have an issue. Like, I understand Connor warning them that the humans are about to attack. I get that. But I feel like he flips so fast into being like, I am deviant and my mission was nothing. Something about it feels too severe. But then back to Kara, Alice, and Luther, they make a run for it while Marcus decides that they have to blow up Jericho. Marcus makes his way to the explosive, saving as many deviants along the way as he can. Kara chooses to help Luther rather than leave him behind when he gets shot. They all make it to a side room, but Luther forces them to go on without him.
Luther's so great.
Can we just give him the KFC now, Kathy?
Yeah. I actually already wrote it down on my notes that KFC is Luther, so...
We know, come on.
Yeah, there's no point in doing that. Okay, so... I should send you a screenshot. So, yeah, I already established the KFC is Luther, so...
So, Kara and Alice do very narrowly escape Jericho after playing dead, and Marcus arrives at the explosives and activates them before making a run for it. And then how... Okay, so the rest of the inner circle, plus Connor, like, ran out ahead of Marcus while he ran to the hold to go set off the explosives. But somehow he catches up to them. And then for some reason, North just decides to stop running and fall behind the rest of the group and get shot at.
I don't understand why you saved her, Leah.
Well, it went against everything I wanted to do. But... And then this, like, hunk of metal. We'll see this hunk of metal. This exact hunk of metal. Everywhere. And it's always a shield.
Right?
Anyway, it seems like they all escape. And that's the end of scene 3.
I think it's really funny that Simon totally wanted to seek revenge and just let North die.
I think it's time I start trusting or doing what I want to do in these playthroughs now.
I kind of want you to be more vengeful and I want you to be more bloodthirsty.
I wanted to. Okay, so scene 4. November 10th, 4:17 p.m. It's the next day and Marcus visits Carl's grave. And he says to Carl, I was happy and I didn't even know it. Finally, you admit it. So then why do you see yourself as a slave? Why have you mentioned that multiple times? You liked your android life.
You could smile. You did smile.
You were allowed to stand tall, Marcus.
I the character arc is really flimsy.
We needed more of this moment. We needed more of this, of him reminiscing on Carl and being unsure of what he should do. We missed out a lot because it really humanizes Marcus.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like a lot of the scenes we see of him are like, he's so just angry and on this mission that he doesn't even seem human. He just seems one-track mind. It's basically Connor, but with a different mission.
Yeah.
And then here is a big, one of the main issues that I have with this game, and it goes back to the Alice Cara thing that we were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like the game wants us to have human-android positive relationships, but then they just take them away from us. Alice and Cara, we thought that was an android and a human. Just kidding. Alice is an android. And then with Marcus and Carl, we see that's a positive relationship. That's his father figure. But then he calls himself a slave. The only salvation for this theme is Connor and Hank. But even that one has issues. Because it seems like both of them flip and just go 100% against the humans. But I don't understand why there's no middle ground of humans and androids can just coexist.
I don't understand that either. I think the reason why they're making so many flips is they want to be like, haha, we got ya. But it's not doing that for us. I think if maybe I was 14 and playing this game, I would be like, oh, wow, that totally caught me off guard. But I think if you do a deep dive to this, you'll realize there's a lot of flaws in it.
Let's quickly finish this out. So, as he's walking away, Leo walks by. And they just look at each other. And I can't believe I asked this because there's no way that Leo has this depth to him. But he said, does Leo feel responsible for Marcus's uprising?
I don't know. I just think that Leo probably is too shell and too self-absorbed to think about anything besides himself.
I feel like he's just going to Carl's grave to, like, I don't know,
See if
try
there's
to find
any
some art.
jewelry.
Try to steal, grave rob a little bit. At their new hideout, Marcus checks in on everybody. We've seen... So, I swear, we've seen Simon walk more after the leg incident than before.
So true.
It's
too true.
And I edited the video episode for the part where they have to abandon him on the roof. And it does show him crawling away speedily. And so why could he not speedily wiggle to the edge of the building with a parachute on? Yes, he crawls away, and I feel like people could maybe call us out for that. Like, you didn't notice him crawling away. Sure. But it doesn't change the fact that he could have crawled just as fast to the edge of the building. And it doesn't change the fact that he can suddenly walk again. And then when Marcus talks to Connor, he's remorseful and guilty, which I understand. And he tells Marcus that he can get access to CyberLife to the assembly plant and wake up more androids. But then he says, I was stupid. I should have guessed they were using me.
I think my main issue is that do they not realize they're fighting the same, they're on the same side of the war? Like, that's what's confusing me. And, like, you know that doing this, you're going to have to sacrifice a lot of people. So where's this guilt coming from?
The very first time we meet Connor, what's he doing? He's saving a life that's being threatened by a deviant. And so I feel like Connor as a character should understand sometimes deviants are dangerous. And so I don't think it's fair for him to be like, I was stupid. Because that's not the full story. At the end of the interaction, Marcus decides to trust him, and then he stands up to address his people, telling them that he's chosen a demonstration over a revolution. He's basically counting on the humanity of humans. And this is the second, to me, core issue with this game. is I feel like the game is sort of telling us cyberlife and humans are the same thing. To me, cyberlife does not equal humans. We see that the humans have a fair public opinion. They have empathy for the androids. We see characters like Hank, like Carl, like Rose that empathize with the androids. It's not the humans, it's cyberlife. That's the villain of the game, in my opinion. And I feel like the deviants don't see that, and they totally misunderstand that. And I just don't think it's fair that the game makes us choose deviants or humans when it should be deviants or cyberlife.
And they never get the blame, like, which we'll see later when there's more of like that political conversation. They never talk anything bad about cyberlife, which is very confusing. And like after taking all the deviants and stealing them and converting them, cyberlife still hasn't said anything. So I'm confused about cyberlife's role in this, is if they're willing to just sit back and watch the world burn, or if they are just like too scared that they made a mistake and they're just gonna cower behind everything.
I promise I like this game, but it has issues. Anything else on scene 4?
I do wish that the timeline would have been different of when Connor becomes a deviant.
Yeah.
And his interaction, because Connor and Marcus do make a good team, and I'm kind of sad that we don't get to see that prolonged, because I think something of more substance and value could have come to this game had the timeline been a bit better.
What I want to see, or what I would have wanted to see, and we almost get it, is, yes, him becoming a deviant earlier, in this moment that we just saw with Hank of, are we on the wrong side? I wanted to see that happen earlier, and have the two of them, without the resources of the police department, without cyberlife, take down cyberlife. That would be the best resolution to this game, is a human and an android working together to take down the company that's causing all of this. Scene 5. It's November 10th, 9:24 p.m. President Warren makes an announcement and answers some questions. All androids must be handed over, and they are to be destroyed at camps. Someone asks what's going to happen to cyberlife, and she responds, I won't address any other questions until we've dealt with the android question.
Which I don't understand. If androids and deviants are part of cyberlife, why wouldn't you work with cyberlife first? Why are you taking matters into your own hand and just grouping all androids as deviants and then trying to neutralize, quote unquote, the deviants? Why is the president also speaking so weird?
There is a national curfew. Civilian movement is being strictly controlled.
She's speaking like an android.
Oh, plot twist. But then the guy that asked this question, I am convinced it's the same voice actor for Scott Shelby in Heavy Rain. It's especially when he says, definitively. Okay, get ready.
What's gonna happen to cyberlife? Will androids be banned definitively?
Yeah.
I also feel like I might hear his voice somewhere else too, but we're not there yet. So Connor makes his way into the assembly plant, but he's being escorted, and he has to get to the proper floor. And in order to do so, he has to neutralize the guards in the elevator. I'm a bit confused on how they don't already know that he can't be trusted.
Especially with all their communication being just so immediate. I don't understand that either.
So Connor does demolish the guards. And then we're quickly back to Kara. She and Alice are sneaking their way through the city on a time crunch to get to the bus station. And we walk past a movie theater. And come on, not it saying Heavy Rain on the marquee.
Did it say that?
Yeah. How many times are they going to reference this game?
Too frequent. Too frequently.
He's in love with Heavy Rain. At one point, they see Luther being held at gunpoint, and it appears that they may be planning to execute him and another android, so they decide to save him. Reunited, the three of them continue on. The guard that they run into here too, the one that they almost shoot over the mitten, he sounds kind of like Scott Shelby too. So I don't know. I might be imagining it, but There's no way they almost shot this guy over a dropped mitten.
It's extreme, too.
I mean, you're expecting so much when he's like, hold on. And then he just hands out this thing that looks like a dirty sock. So anticlimactic.
Well, what's annoying is that all this time, Alice could have just told Kara, says, hey, can you switch off my body temperature sensory thing? She could have been okay without the coat if she just switched that off, but we only wait until now?
Well, that makes me wonder if she's not a deviant. Maybe she doesn't know she has that setting. Alright, it's 10:56 p.m. Marcus's demonstration is now being covered by the news. He and his people march towards one of the camps, and the authorities say to surrender or they will open fire. Public opinion goes up, and then because of the media coverage, the authorities decide to hold fire.
It's too late for that.
And this is another hint about, like, it's not humans. Humans are saving your life in this situation, Marcus, because public opinion is so high. They know that they can't get away with just murdering you right here.
But it's also, I'm just kind of irritated at the way they're portraying the human side. They're like freaking out, yet they still won't even give up their luxury of having an android. Like, they haven't boycotted cyber life, which is what's always consistently throwing me off, is that if you're so afraid of them, why are you still using them? And why are you still supporting cyber life? Like, why hasn't your public opinion taken down cyber life enough if you're that afraid? And if the US Army is just shooting them off, why not just stop it completely at the root cause?
Right. And even like the anti-android signs around town that we've been seeing, why is it like anti-android and not anti-cyberlife? Why is cyberlife getting off like scot-free in this whole thing? So now back to Connor. He starts to convert one of the androids in a sea of androids when a new Connor shows up with Hank at gunpoint. Anything that you want to say? It's a very quick little jump back to Connor.
Not yet.
And then we're quickly right back to Kara. They cannot get tickets to the bus, but they do find Rose nearby, and she's going to drive them to the border. Now we're back to Marcus, and they're preparing some defenses for an assault. And you and I were like, what's this? Like, why are they even bothering with this? It's not going to stop anything. And Simon goes,
Stupid.
We all know that's not going to stop them.
Thank goodness for Simon.
top tier moment. That's the only line in this part of the story that's actually good. Perkins approaches the barricade. He wants to talk to Marcus, and he offers him a deal. He says, in a few minutes, the troops will be ordered to charge. None of you will survive. Surrender, and I give you my word, your life will be spared. They'll be detained, but none of you will be destroyed. And Marcus's response, after some more back and forth, is, I'd rather die here than betray my people, which, again, cringe.
Okay, we get it.
Anything you want to say about that exchange?
Not particularly about that exchange, but even kind of, I think it's before this happens, is that North is consistently telling how much she trusts Marcus and, like, we believe in you and everything. Yet you're also consistently going, like, just kill them, just shoot them, don't even try and stuff. Like, her character is even more bipolar than Marcus. Just so annoying. Like, that stupid hand thingy where they pull back the skin and just...
You hate that so much. Every time it popped up on the screen, you're like, ugh, again.
It just... My annoyance with this entire conversation and character is, like, putting a really damp blanket over all the good parts that could have happened.
Marcus warns his people that they're about to be attacked. And then we're very quickly back to Connor. And the other Connor is making him choose Hank or the revolution. And I find it incredibly interesting that he calls it a revolution when I specifically chose demonstration and not revolution as Marcus in the church. So Connor does choose to save Hank and then backs away from the other androids. The two Connors then fight and are interrupted by Hank pointing a gun at them, and he now has to figure out which is the true Connor.
So Connor then pretty much demonstrates that it's real because he knows the cause of Hank's son's death. I appreciate this is the moment where Hank realizes that truly the enemy isn't with androids, it's with humans. And this is great, but again, it's also too late.
I also really like this moment because both of these Connors are identical. They should be identical, and you shouldn't be able to tell them apart. But it highlights how deviancy develops personality. This scene is the ultimate moment of maybe they really are alive, like Hank says, because there should be no way to tell them apart. He had Connor's memories too. So really the only thing to distinguish them is personality. The thing that kind of clinches Hank's belief is the emotion in Connor's voice when he's describing what happened to his son. They were in a car accident, and Android had to perform the surgery because there wasn't a human available, and he died. But then Hank goes on to say that the one who really took his son from him was the doctor who was too high on red ice to operate.
I'm kind of irritated that all my curiosities about red eyes only comes to learning that it's just the reason why Hank lost his son. I don't know. I feel robbed of a red eye storyline.
What would you want to see out of it? I'm just curious. Like, what were you envisioning?
Well, red ice being related to deviants, not like it's their kryptonite, but like maybe if they touch red ice or somehow gets mixed up with their chemical or their bio makeup, that pushes them to being deviants, like something more. Like there's two options to becoming a deviant, and one is emotion, two is because of this drug enhance, and Cyberlife is secretly behind red ice.
So now that fake Connor is dead, Connor converts the androids, and why does he say wake up like that?
Wake up!
He says it like he's, I don't know, really straining. And then they all start converting each other. Okay, final scene of the game. It's November 10th, 11:26 p.m. We're back to Kara at the Detroit River. They're crossing to get to Canada, and as they are, the authorities spot them and open fire. They lose Luther. He's been shot. And I think this is our first so long.
I'm so mad. So unnecessary. They could have kept Luther alive. I honestly think a better decision is if they all died or not. I don't know. I definitely so long Mother Respecter. He is my favorite character of this game.
I agree. Mother Respecter. There's just absolutely no question with him. He has not done a single thing wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just too good. The boat begins to leak, and they have to toss everything overboard to make it across, including Luther. But then we cut back to Marcus. Media is increasingly in favor of the androids. The demonstration goes under attack. They fight until they're all cornered and outnumbered. And somehow, by some miracle, everyone from the inner circle is still alive at the very end.
What's realistic is if Simon, with his newfound legs, is if he outran everyone, I could see Simon being alive and everyone else being dead.
What would have been better is if we hadn't seen him still at this point since the building, and he just comes like crawling up out of the sewer and like attacks the army from behind.
If he has like a gun in hand, like a machine gun, and he's on the wheelchair, and this wheelchair is set up to like have guns attached to it.
So good. Anyway, now that they're cornered and outnumbered, Marcus has to make a choice. There's an unavailable option, which I believe is the dirty bomb if I had taken the detonator. And then kiss North, sing, or sacrifice. All of these options suck. I was definitely not going to kiss North. We don't want to see that again. And then sing, I just don't understand that one.
I don't understand, like, what are they trying to do? Like a Katniss from Hunger Games kind of thing? Like, what?
You know I don't watch movies. Yet you reference them.
It's
other people will understand.
Other people listening.
Other people will understand. And so I choose sacrifice because I'm like, well, that might be good. But he doesn't really sacrifice himself. He just kills himself. To me, sacrifice means you're doing something for someone else by giving yourself up. But he doesn't do anything for any of them. They all get shot immediately after he lights himself on fire.
How did he light himself on fire, too? Like, I don't understand where the powers come from.
I guess, I don't know.
It's a really pointless death. I don't feel like it helped anything. If anything,
It
what
didn't.
would have been better is if he communicated with the reporters and said that this is what happens, watch them kill me. And he should have done something else to trigger more emotional responses.
Right. And why didn't they go talk to the media? You know that they would say yes.
And why didn't you talk to the president or do a better job of communication? Like, you said that you want to end it, but yet you're doing nothing? Like,
Yeah. And at some
come
point he even
on.
says, like, dialogue is the only way, but you've never talked to them. But also in the scene where they're being attacked, that's the same hunk of metal. It's the same hunk of metal. It's here, too. If Luther wasn't the KFC, this hunk of metal would be the KFC, because it's saved lives.
Yeah, honestly.
And then we're back to President Warren. She makes another statement. And we also, while we're hearing this, see Connor and his new army arriving in Detroit. She has ordered the army to retreat, and the city is being evacuated. She says,
Perhaps the time has come for us to consider the possibility that androids are a new form of intelligent life.
It's too late. And yeah, I just I think she's
Kathy,
just trying to cover her butt. What?
they're evacuating Detroit. Cyberlife is fully in control of Detroit at this point. Because they got rid of all the humans. Are they just trying to take over the country?
I think so. And then what if President Warren was an android under Cyberlife? Talk about plot twist. Wouldn't
Yeah.
that have been better?
Yeah. But back to Connor, he learns that the humans are leaving. A few androids tell him that basically he's their new leader and he should speak to all of them. But as he's about to address the Sea of Deviants, he's pulled back to Amanda and she says,
Well done, Connor. Everything went according to plan.
What plan?
You becoming deviant, the success of the uprising, it all surpassed our expectations. We engineered an android revolution, and now we control its only leader. Congratulations. You represent an immense success for Cyberlife.
is she telling the truth? And they want to take over Detroit and then the rest of the country? Or is she bluffing to try to just control Connor?
I think she's telling the truth. I think she's always had the intention to use Connor or whoever the leader is to control the country because she represents Cyberlife.
The only reason she would lie is to try to confuse Connor enough to be able to control him at this point, because this is a pivotal moment of him addressing the androids. Back in the real world, Connor has to deal with this new information. Bluff or not, he can't risk it and decides to destroy himself in order to not be used again. So he pulls a gun, and then Amanda pulls him back and says, I'm sorry, Connor, but we can't let you do that. And then Connor must find another way. He finds the emergency exit that Kamsky had referenced earlier. It's the handprint thing that we talked about earlier in the game. And when he touched it the first time, nothing really happened. He just was like kind of confused. But now something's happening. So do you have to be a deviant in order to use this? But this does allow him to regain control, and he pulls the trigger. And I just have to say that the like micro expressions on his face are so good.
It's a huge change from being just an android to being a deviant. I'm not convinced Kara is a deviant, so I feel like maybe that's why her facial expressions are still pretty bland. But like for Connor, for sure, his demonstration of personality is the reason why he's able to have more noticeable facial expressions.
All right, should we finish this out?
Yeah?
So we are back to Kara. She's carrying Alice out of the shallows to shore, and they try to trick us. They try to make us think Alice is dead. But after like 45 seconds, she finally wakes up, and they've made it. End of game. How did you like it?
I feel like it was a really weak ending. What they should have done was in between the meta, stick the Kara and Alice scene up and then end it where we see it go blank with Connor. I think they're really trying to end it on a note of like a feel good that, oh, there's still love. But the whole moral of the story, which we're going to have to talk about in the summary, is so murky that leaving it on a note saying that, like, love conquers all, like, the mom's love is everything, is so freaking useless in this. It's so not even adjacent to any of the storyline.
They completely abandon the theme, too, by having Alice be an android. And then they try to bring it back here. I think this is probably one of the weaker endings in terms of entertainment. Like, there's definitely better endings for the game as a whole.
Maybe another ending is gonna change my mind, but so far it's a 0 for 2 for David Cage games.
I'm really excited to talk about the summary, though.
Yeah. And with that, I'm gonna close it out. Let's do Audacity on 1, 3, 2, 1.
Thank you for listening, and don't forget to send in any questions, comments, or game suggestions. You can find all our contact info on our website, replayreviewspod.com, or contact us directly through our site.
Did we completely miss something? Are we way off the mark? Or you just want us to take a deeper look at anything from the game? We'll tackle any topics you all want to hear in our season wrap-up episode.
We also have a Reddit where we discuss anything we're curious about. Go take a look and let us know what you're thinking. Our theme music is Condemned by Eggy Toast. They'll play you out, and we'll be back next week with the summary episode.